In a quiet rural village back in the 1990s, the night was dark and still. The protagonist had just been told by his teacher he didn't make it into college. Feeling defeated, he wandered under an old locust tree, torn between moving on or retaking the exam. Suddenly, a blinding flash streaked across the night sky, followed by the crash of an unidentified object. Before he could react, the object slammed into the ground right in front of him. Boom! The shockwave alone sent him flying dozens of meters, landing hard in a patch of weeds. Stunned and bruised, he tried to make out what that thing was. Out of nowhere, a group of mysterious figures in black emerged from all directions. In the blink of an eye, they had completely surrounded the unknown object. As the smoke thickened, the leader's expression turned grim that he shouted, "Everyone, prepare for combat." In the very next second, two bizarre mech units emerged, every inch of them radiating deadly intent. Hiding in the grass, the protagonist froze in terror. What the hell are those things? The squad captain gave sharp command. At once, the entire team charged toward the mechs. But the enemy's eyes flared ominously. One swing of their weapon sent the soldiers flying backward like ragdolls. The protagonist stared in stunned disbelief. Okay, those mechs are terrifying, but wait, the soldiers can jump 3 meters too. What is this, Superman versus Transformers? Within seconds, the first casualty appeared. Seeing the situation spiraling out of control, the captain shouted, "Separate them now." But it was too late. One soldier was impaled straight through the gut. Blood gushed as he collapsed to the ground. Desperate, the captain charged in alone, launching into close combat with the mech. After a flurry of coordination, the team finally managed to separate the two mechs, but even then, fighting them was a nightmare. With just a few swings, the mech effortlessly shredded their formation. Suddenly, a reckless soldier ignored orders and leapt straight onto one of the mechs, aiming for its head. He was going for a one-shot kill, desperate to end it all. But the mech snatched him mid-air and slammed him into the ground like a rag doll. As he lay on the brink of death, another soldier rushed in, challenging the mech to a straight-up 1v1 brawl. But he stood no chance. Within seconds, he was sent flying through the air. And just the protagonist's luck, of all places to land, that poor guy was hurtling right toward his hiding spot. To make matters worse, the mech was now charging up its laser cannon. If that thing fires and he gets caught in it, he's toast like extra crispy toast. But in the end, the kind-hearted protagonist couldn't just run. Gritting his teeth, he dragged the unconscious soldier to safety. Seeing this, the others roared with renewed fury. Charge! It was clear how much that soldier meant to them. Working together, the team unleashed a barrage, crack, and finally brought one of the mechs down. One remained, but they didn't need to defeat it. Just stall that in 5 minutes. The enemy's aircraft would trigger its self-destruct sequence. Then came a shout, "Time's up! Everyone fall back!" A split second later, boom! The aircraft exploded into 1,000 flaming pieces. The thunderous blast echoed through the entire valley. The shockwave tore through the trees like paper. Debris rained down on the soldiers from above. And then, from the heart of the explosion, a dark golden object shot out, glowing ominously as it spun through the air. The protagonist reached out, trying to grab the golden object, but it playfully dodged him, almost as if teasing. Then, out of nowhere, it plunged straight into his chest. He instinctively patted his chest, trying to find it. But it was gone, just vanished. Suddenly, a deep, booming voice shouted from behind, "Who's there? Show yourself." Busted. In a way to keep hiding now. Thinking fast, he dragged over the soldier he saved, hoping it might earn him some trust. But it didn't help much. Every soldier was staring at him like he'd just stumbled onto some top-secret classified intel. Should we silence this kid? The tension hit him like a truck. Okay, stay calm. Just breathe. But before he could blink, one of the soldiers stormed up, eyes locked on him. "You there? Did you see a small metal object?" The protagonist froze. Wait, is he talking about that thing? Can't let them know. With a quick shake of his head, Han Qingyu replied, "Nope, didn't see anything." After a tense round of searching, suspicion finally shifted away from him. But before he could even breathe easy, the soldier he'd saved called him over. His gaze turned sharp. "You've seen something most people never even hear about, so you understand what that means." Xing, a sword was suddenly at Han Qingyu's throat. And yet, he remained calm. If they were going to kill me, they'd have done it already, and no need for theatrics. The soldier seemed impressed by his composure under pressure. Instead of threatening him further, he offered another path. "Join us, become a soldier." Han Qingyu blinked in surprise, caught off guard by the offer. For a kid from a village who just flunked the college exam, joining the army might be the best shot he'll ever get. But as Han Qingyu looked at the battlefield littered with corpses, a trace of hesitation crossed his mind. Still, the situation left him no real choice, so he reluctantly accepted his fate. Then out of nowhere, he blurted out, "Hey, do soldiers get paid? If so, I want 10 grand. The entire squad burst into laughter on the spot. The soldier gave him a light smack on the head. "You greedy brat. Fine, I'll ask for you, but no promises on that paycheck." Amid Han Qingyu's sheepish thanks, the whole chaotic event finally came to an end. That very night, several peaks of Fenglongao Mountain collapsed one after another. The villagers whispered in fear, "The mountain that sealed the dragon. It's caving in." And at the heart of it all was a strange, otherworldly substance. Liquid metal with a will of its own. If that liquid metal successfully fuses with a human body, it can drastically enhance physical abilities, boosting energy sensitivity from 0 all the way to S+ level. But when Han Qingyu woke up from his sleep, he had no clue that this mysterious substance was about to change his life forever. Looking in the mirror at the new scars on his body, he assumed they were just battle wounds from the night before. I didn't think much of it. After saying a quick goodbye to his mom, he hopped on his bike to meet his childhood friend, Wen Jifei, intending to see him one last time. But soon, something felt off. What usually took him over an hour and a half, he finished in under 60 minutes, arriving at the village store way too quickly. Stunned, Han Qingyu jumped off his bike and asked the old lady at the store for the time. Sure enough, he'd shaved off at least 30 minutes from his usual ride. Still, he brushed it off, thinking maybe he just spaced out and pedaled faster without realizing it. But what happened next made him question everything about last night. That's when he noticed his whole body felt supercharged. He cranked out hundreds of push-ups and sit-ups without breaking a sweat. With just a casual jump, he cleared a stream nearly 7 meters wide. Han Qingyu was stunned. Wait, could it be that golden object from last night? Did it really fuse with me? The more he thought about it, the weirder it got. Others touched it and were fine, but I absorb it? Nope, that I'm taking this secret to the grave. Not a word to anyone. Soon, he arrived at the doorstep of his best friend, Wen Jifei. Just as he shouted, "Wen Jifei," he heard a voice from behind. The guy was already there. After catching up, he found out Wen was also planning to join the army. Hearing that, Han Qingyu grinned and dropped the bombshell. "Bro, I'm enlisting too." And of course, he had to flex a little. "You won't believe it. I actually met a big-shot military officer." Han Qingyu grinned, slapping his buddy on the back. "Sure, your family's loaded, but from now on, I've got your back." The two shared a hearty laugh, chatting like true brothers. Just as they were about to part ways, a rugged off-road vehicle came out of nowhere, grazing Han Qingyu's bicycle. He'd barely kept himself from crashing headfirst into the ground. To make matters worse, the car screeched to a stop right in front of him. Furious, Han Qingyu opened his mouth, ready to unleash a string of curses. But then he recognized the man stepping out of the car. It was that smiling team leader Lao from the day before. The man chuckled. "You again? Still looking like trouble?" Huh? Before Han Qingyu could reply, Wen Jifei rushed over to stand beside him. He thumped his chest and gave a thumbs up. "If it's about Han Qingyu, it's about me too. No matter what it is, I'll take care of it." Before Wen Jifei could say another word, Han Qingyu spread his arms to block him. "Stay out of this, that I'm only joining the army because Uncle Lao pulled some strings." Hearing that, When Jifei instantly understood, he snapped into a salute and greeted the officer with full respect. He tried to use the moment to sneakily ask which unit Han Qingyu was joining, but Han cut him off mid-sentence. "Get lost? I told you this has nothing to do with you." In truth, Han Qingyu was just trying to protect his friend that he didn't want one dragged into the same danger. So he used the excuse of military secrecy to shut him down. Moments later, team leader Lao took Han deep into the mountains. Picking up his radio, a voice on the other end crackled. "Rhombus-class aircraft has landed at the supply station. Squad 760 is engaging the enemy." "Copy that," Lao replied, instantly slamming the gas pedal. As soon as they got out of the vehicle, the two bolted uphill at full speed. Upon reaching the top, Lao wasted no time. He immediately began suiting up with tactical gear. After gearing, "Just press this white button and I'll wake up." No sooner had he said it than his body sparked violently with electricity, and in the next instant, he collapsed, unconscious. Han Qingyu stood there stunned, but quickly snapped back to the task. After searching frantically, he finally spotted the white button on Lao's belt. With a soft buzz, Lao's eyes shot open, fully awake again. He gave Han a quick warning. "This place is dangerous. Find a place to hide." Then dashed off into the forest alone. As dusk settled, Han Qingyu heard footsteps approaching from nearby. Peeking through the brush, he saw something shocking. Two humans, locked in a brutal fight to the death. "G up." Lao turned to Han Qingyu and warned, "If I pass out later, don't panic." After a fierce fight, one of the soldiers took a heavy blow and tumbled straight off the cliff. And where did he land? Of all places, right in front of Han Qingyu again. Han groaned. "Seriously? Why does this keep happening to me?" His heart was racing. Looking up, he spotted two dangerous-looking figures still standing atop the cliff. Luckily, they didn't finish the kill. Instead, they turned and disappeared, heading off to hunt down the Azure faction, Lao's team. But Han Qingyu suddenly noticed something strange. The soldier on the ground still had his eyes wide open, refusing to close. Could this be someone who died with unfinished business? Driven by curiosity, he started searching through the soldier's gear. That's when he saw it, an insignia on the man's chest. It was identical to the one on Lao's uniform. Wait a minute, was this guy on our side? Without hesitation, Han Qingyu began rummaging through the fallen soldier's body. To his surprise, he uncovered a glowing, strange energy core. He hadn't done it out of greed. He simply wanted to test a theory. The moment his fingertip touched the energy core, just as he suspected, his bones began to shift and mutate. His blood surged like a raging current, racing through his veins. His genes started to rewrite themselves, his body undergoing rapid transformation. Then, beep! A soft chime echoed in his ear, startling him that he could actually absorb it. Energized by the upgrade, Han tried to leave, but realized he was boxed in by cliffs on both sides. Dry branches littered the ground, cracking loudly beneath his feet with every cautious step. Han Qingyu held his breath. If the enemies above had heard the cracking branches, he was done for. With no escape route, a wild idea suddenly flashed through his mind. He yanked a dagger from the dead soldier's gear and stabbed it into the cliffside. Step by step, he began climbing upward, gripping tightly with each move. Finally, he reached a vantage point, just close enough to spot the two enemies. To his surprise, their combat gear wasn't activated. He instantly recalled something Lao had once said. "Even without the suit, I could still be killed with a single stab." With no time to hesitate, Han leapt into action. One swift strike across the first enemy's throat, then a clean dagger plunge into the second skull. The entire sequence was seamless, swift, lethal, and cold-blooded. For the first time in his life, Han Qingyu felt something strange, an unsettling mix of adrenaline, thrill, and hollow emptiness after a kill. Afraid he might lose control mentally, he rushed to a nearby stream and splashed cold water on his face to snap himself out of it. Regaining his composure, he turned his gaze back toward the two corpses. Without hesitation, he absorbed the energy cores from their bodies. After everything was done, he thought long and hard and decided not to tell Lao about any of this. After all, how was a college-flunk village kid supposed to explain killing 2 trained operatives and absorbing their power? Who would believe him? He returned to the fallen soldier, the one from earlier. Gently, he placed the dagger back onto the man's chest and closed his eyes with respect. With a soft, grateful smile, he murmured, "You can rest now." Han Qingyu didn't have many skills, but if there's one thing he's good at, it's lying in ambush. The guy could stay hidden for hours without a peep. Han Qingyu had hidden so well, even the seasoned field veteran Lao hadn't noticed him first. Fortunately, he heard Lao calling and stood up quickly. Otherwise, he might have stayed there until sunrise. Lao extended his right hand, revealing a special symbol on his wrist. It looked like a radiant sun. Listen, that if someone wearing a uniform like mine stops you, show them this mark. But if their symbol looks even slightly different, pretend you're just an ordinary civilian. Got it? At that moment, Han Qingyu fully understood. Those 2 earlier were definitely enemies. Lao finally explained, they're part of an anti-human faction, extremely dangerous. Never let your guard down. With a brief farewell, the 2 parted ways. Meanwhile, deep inside an Azure Coalition hidden reserve base, Zone 700, a soldier rushed through the corridors, urgency in every step. He stood before 3 commanding officers and reported grimly, "Xiao Wu is dead." The soldier continued, "We also found 2 corpses from the Purge faction near Xiao Wu's body, just over the hillside. From the scene, it's clear the Purge faction killed Xiao Wu, then were taken out by someone else." As he spoke, he pulled out a remote detonator. The officers recognized it instantly. Earlier, while returning from picking up the Jian, we discovered a field of high-yield explosive mines along the route. Now this detonator shows up on the bodies of those 2 Purge members, which means someone, acting alone, prevented a massacre and saved 63 Azure Coalition soldiers. One of the senior officers stepped forward, face grim. First, lock down all further information. Second, initiate immediate evacuation of the reserve station. Third, bypass the chain of command and report this directly to military high command. Fourth, continue the investigation. Dig into every detail. Leave no stone unturned. As soon as the order was given, the officer struck his right fist against his chest and shouted, "Salute the unknown hero." Instantly, the entire unit stood tall and followed with a solemn salute, an expression of deep respect. Meanwhile, far below in the valley, Han Qingyu suddenly sneezed out of nowhere. Sniffling, he muttered while chopping wood, "Ugh, did I catch a cold lying in that pit too long? Or is someone talking about me behind my back?" The next morning, just after sunrise, Han was still chopping wood in the yard, keeping up his training. That's when a familiar off-road vehicle pulled up again. Out stepped none other than Lao, the same man as before. He came with one purpose today, to fulfill his promise and hand over the payment. But upon seeing the 6,000 yuan, Han Qingyu's parents didn't look happy at all. Instead, their faces were full of worry and unease. Han Qingyu's parents had once lost their eldest son to war. Now, seeing such a large payment, even before official enlistment, they couldn't help but worry. Doubts crept in. Was their youngest boy heading down the same dangerous path? They immediately tried to return the money and pleaded, "This kid's not cut out for this kind of life. Please, don't let him go." But Han Qingyu overheard everything and quickly chimed in, grinning. "Relax, I'm just joining as a culture officer, doing writing and propaganda stuff. Nothing dangerous." After confirming this with Lao and getting a silent nod, the parents finally eased up. At the train station platform, his mother pulled him aside and handed him a silver bracelet. "This is for your future wife," she whispered. "If you meet a girl you like, put on her wrist fast. Don't let someone else snatch her first." With a sheepish grin, Han Qingyu boarded a mysterious train car. One glance at the tense faces and wary eyes inside told him all he needed to know. They were just like him, here for one thing, the big mission. As the train pulled away, he saw his parents walking past the carriage window, And in that quiet, fleeting moment, tears welled up in his eyes. Just then, a familiar and slightly annoying voice chimed in from behind. "What's wrong? Missing your mom and dad already?" Yep, it was none other than Wenjifei. Han Qingyu froze. What the hell? How did this guy end up in the same carriage? Turns out, just moments earlier, Wenjifei had spotted Han at the train station completely by accident. Curiosity kicked in, and he decided to secretly follow Han, which somehow landed him right here. Now he was chatting it up with everyone around him, acting like the life of the party. That's when a nearby teenager casually replied and mentioned the words Azure Coalition. When Jifei blinked, confused. Azure what now? But Han Qingyu immediately stiffened. This is bad. Without hesitation, he grabbed Wen Jifei's wrist and bolted toward the carriage exit. But just as they reached the door, there stood Lao, arms crossed, clearly waiting for them. He lifted his gaze and shot Han Qingyu a calm, knowing look. Han's heart sank instantly. Crap that we've been caught. Meanwhile, clueless Wen Jifei was still all smiles. Hey, isn't that Uncle Lao? Realizing things could spiral fast, Han whispered urgently. He wandered in by accident. Can we just let him go before he hears anything sensitive? Lao smirked and shrugged shamelessly. Anyone who steps into this carriage is mine now, and oh refunds. Han still clung to a shred of hope. Maybe there's a way out, but one glance at Wen's goofy grin crushed that hope. Yeah, never mind, this guy's done for. Still, something didn't sit right. This was a restricted carriage. There were guards. Han rushed after Lao, demanding, there were guards at the entrance. How the hell did he even get in? Lao gave a straight answer. Yes, it was a lapse in the guard's duty to handle the consequences. But what's done is done. Don't make it harder on this old man. With things at this point, Han Qingyu had no choice but to suck it up. In a way, he could outtalk this sly veteran. Then Lao suddenly switched gears, grinning as he praised the two. You, got that bandit edge to you. And him, he's got spirit. You two are exactly the type of chaos the military loves. With no comeback, Han slumped back into his seat in defeat. Just then, some passengers started explaining to Wen Jifei about the Daejian, an alien mech unit sent to Earth for reconnaissance. These things are immune to blades, bullets, and even absorb gunpowder as fuel. Wen burst out laughing. Come on, seriously? That's your sci-fi bedtime story? But everyone else stared at him dead serious and said in unison, It's true. The smile froze on Wen's face that he stood there, pale and speechless. It took Wen Jifei a few hours just to recover from the shock. After 3 long days on the roaring train, they finally arrived at Azure Coalition's 9th military base. Waiting for them was a burly bald man. His name was Zhang Daoan, the head drill instructor for all new recruits. Without much chatter, he simply said, Go eat. Training starts first thing tomorrow. Outside the fence, Lao smirked to himself with wicked delight. Looks like Han Qingyu's about to have a very bad time. Soon, Han and Wen were escorted to their assigned dorm room. That night, someone kicked off a round of awkward self-introductions. Most were anything but willing. Probably only Wen Jifei seemed enthusiastic, flashing smiles like he was making lifelong friends. The chatting escalated quickly. Voices grew louder. One seemed to remember they were still fresh recruits. Meanwhile, outside the dorm, Instructor Zhang stood silently, hand behind his back, eyes narrowed, ready to rain hell on this noisy bunch. These new recruits were way too cocky. On their very first night at camp, they already caught the attention of the bald drill instructor and didn't even realize it. Then suddenly, bang! A deafening crash shook the dorm. Instructor Zhang Daoan stormed in, fury blazing in his eyes. Do you morons even know where you are? I thought I was hearing things, but no, you really are this suicidal. And just then, Wen Jifei made the fatal mistake of talking back. The instructor didn't hesitate. He yanked Wen right off the bed. Thud! Wen slammed hard onto the floor, completely stunned. Zhang's voice roared through the room. Dorm 11. Formation. Training ground. Now 100 laps. Anyone late gets double. No one knew how long they'd been running. The squad was completely drained. Some even collapsed mid-run or vomited from sheer exhaustion. As for Han Qingyu, he wasn't even winded after 100 laps, but he knew better than stand out, so he dropped to the ground like the others, groaning and pretending to be just as exhausted. That's when the bald instructor locked eyes on one Jifei with a death glare. A massive hand shot out, and in a flash, one was lifted clean off the ground by his collar. "Are you the complete failure? You think this is a place for jokes? You'll get your teammates killed with that attitude. All right then, say I'm a failure 10 times, and I'll let you go back to the dorm." No one said nothing, just stared back, silent. The instructor dropped him to the ground with a scoff, then turned his attention to Lu Xiang beside him. Without hesitation, Lu shouted 10 booming confessions. "I'm a failure. I'm a failure," making the instructor burst into laughter on the spot. The instructor turned back to the gasping recruits and smirked. "All right, I'll give you one chance. I fan you if you can land a single hit on me. Tonight's punishment ends here." Within minutes, the perimeter was lined with veteran soldiers, arms crossed, grinning. They'd all been through this before, and now it was their turn to watch the rookie suffer. With a flick of the wrist, the instructor tossed a wooden staff onto the ground. "Hit me once with this, and you get to sleep early. Simple." Yang Qingbai immediately stepped forward to volunteer. But before he could land a single blow, the instructor swept his leg out and dropped him like a sack of potatoes. Next came Lu Xiang, refusing to back down. The moment he raised his stance, the instructor squinted. Western fencing? But a few seconds later, Lu was down too, face first in the dirt. When Jifei, fired up by ego and delusion, charged in next and got sent flying just like the others. Meanwhile, Han Qingyu had been silently fuming in the back, his patience long gone. He stared at the instructor's outstretched staff and thought, This is the moment I've been waiting for." Grabbing the staff with a sharp glare, he stepped forward with confidence. Before the instructor could finish his usual mockery, bang! The staff smacked him right on the forehead. The air froze. Dead silence. A large bump began to swell on the instructor's head. When Jifei laughed so hard he nearly passed out. This was better than comedy night. But that hit officially lit the fuse. The instructor's expression darkened instantly. In a flash, he launched into a full-on fight with Han Qingyu. The duel was on. But as they clashed, it became clear the instructor wasn't holding back anymore. No matter how fast Han moved, every strike was effortlessly deflected. The old fox read him like an open book. To make matters worse, the instructor caught the handle of Han Qingyu's staff mid-swing. With a swift sweep, he sent Han flying several dozen meters, crashing straight into the sandpit. Harsh as he was, the instructor still honored his word, waving them off with a grunt. "Go sleep." Meanwhile, outside the fence, a blonde girl blushed as she watched. "That guy, I've got to make him mine." The next day, mealtime arrived, and so did the new recruits' next nightmare. Sitting on their plates were slabs of raw beef, still red and bloody. The rookies exploded in protest. "We're human, not wolves. This is insane." Just then, a one-legged cook hobbled over on a crutch. Without a word, he grabbed a chunk of beef and bit into it with a loud crunch. Still chewing, he scoffed. "Can't eat meat. Then what the hell are you doing trying to be a soldier?" With that, the one-legged chef swallowed the raw meat like it was nothing, then casually picked up another chunk and flung it to the side, straight into the waiting jaws of a massive black dog. Scowling, he barked, "You lot are worse than dogs. Eat or get the hell out." The recruits were stunned. Turns out, this place didn't just have a demon instructor. Even the cook was a certified lunatic. Just then, the cafeteria doors flew open with a loud slam. In strolled a group of senior soldiers, grinning ear to ear, clearly here to mess with the newbies and maybe snag some of their meat. Han Qingyu didn't hesitate, but he grabbed a piece and began chewing slowly and steadily. He ate like it was gourmet steak, leaving when Jifei absolutely dumbfounded. Seeing someone take the first bite, the rest finally gave in and dug in too. Because let's face it, no food means no strength for survival. In the end, amid groans, gagging, and plenty of complaints, the recruits forced the raw meat down their throats. Watching from the side, the senior soldiers chuckled. "Ah, first meal trauma. And oh surprise, old Gung still got that lovable rage bait energy. Two veterans stood nearby, chatting about the infamous cook's backstory. Turns out, the one-legged chef Gung and bald instructor Zhang Daoan were once part of the 9th Unit's legendary elite team. But now, they barely speak. Rumor has it, on a mission long ago, Zhang recklessly disobeyed orders and charged ahead, only to be ambushed by Daejian. Their captain died saving him. Since then, things have never been the same. After the meal, the recruits were herded into the unit's main assembly hall. Standing front and center was a tall officer named Hu Haipeng, their designated mentor and training advisor. Without much preamble, he tapped a screen and began a briefing on the Daejian species. The footage revealed razor-headed, lightning-fast alien mechs, impervious to conventional weapons. But don't panic, Hu said. We've got our own trump card, an energy-based, magnetically powered gear system. The first-gen 3D tactical mobility units. These devices channel energy directly into the body, with magnets as weapons. Even humans can now cut down the spikes. With each new generation, the systems became easier to use and massively more powerful. To demonstrate, he played footage of an elite strike squad. They weren't just deadly. They looked like action movie stars. Fighting spikes was like a casual warm-up to them. Even alone, one of them could decapitate a spike in a single blow. The recruits watching couldn't help but cheer. They were fired up. One of them raised a question. If the spikes are such a threat, why not unite the whole world to fight them? Hu Haipeng replied calmly. Because no one knows when they'll appear. Could be centuries or millennia. And with energy and magnets being so scarce, mobilizing large-scale forces just doesn't make sense right now. Then, unexpectedly, he shifted gears and brought up the topic of love. In the Azure Coalition, love often blooms faster than expected. But just as quickly, it can be lost. The somber officer on stage began his story. He once had a neighbor, an older girl, 3 or 4 years his senior. They grew up together, trained together. Though they were separated for a time, fate brought them both to the Azure Coalition. But tragedy struck. She died in the line of duty during a mission. The day after he scattered her ashes, a letter arrived, sent by her before her death. It contained just one line, "Maybe we should have had a child." By the time the story ended, the hall was filled with sniffles and quiet sobs. Only Han Qingyu remained skeptical. Was this just emotional manipulation? But when he saw the look on the officer's face, he knew this was real. And with a heavy voice, the officer concluded, "Love may find you in the future, but in the future, it may also leave you behind." Meanwhile, inside Han Qingyu's dorm, a female soldier was actually taking a shower. At the same time, the clueless recruits were heading back, completely unaware. Wen Jifei was the first to notice something blocking the dorm entrance. Curious, he stepped closer for a better look, and what he saw left him stunned. A blonde girl casually washing her hair inside. She raised her head, droplets tracing down her neck. Her presence instantly spellbinding. The recruits behind him froze, their hormones collectively losing control. Then, without a care, she peeled off her short-sleeved shirt, revealing only a tight sports bra underneath. Everyone stared, wide-eyed and slack-jawed. Time practically stood still. Still drying her hair, she smirked and said, "Want to see more? Then win first place in the upcoming squad competition !" But no one expected what happened next. This blonde bombshell casually raised a freaking Gatling gun. When Jifei and the others nearly peed themselves, was this girl serious? Even Han Qingyu was puzzled. Wait, didn't they say bullets don't work on Daejian? What's the point of that thing? Turns out, her name was Mila Cho, and she was their direct commanding officer. In her hands, that machine gun wasn't just for show. She'd once used it to save teammates mid-combat against the Daejian raid. After that little intro, she spun on her heel and returned to the training field, cool as ever. Meanwhile, her fellow female officer was already laughing so hard she could barely breathe. Seriously? Vice Captain out here, using thirst traps to motivate rookies? Because really, It was just a classic bait and switch. Mila's incentives were nothing but motivational fluff to keep the squad in line. That said, it totally worked. The three boys were now fired up, strategizing how to win first place. Too bad. Before the competition even began, their dorm already got penalized 2 points for being too loud. Talk about a rough start. And of course, who else but when Ji-Fei caused trouble again? Turns out, he'd stolen raw beef from the cafeteria and tried grilling it under the sun. He got busted red-handed. Just like that, their team lost points before the competition even started. Over the next few months, they endured brutal training. Everyday hell. At least they gained some muscle to show for it. One night, while everyone was dozing off, Han Qingyu caught a whiff of something. Beef stew. Instantly, the whole dorm jumped up. Midnight mission. Secure the meat. But before they reached the cafeteria, they saw a shadowy crowd gathered out front. A closer look, they were all their own squad mates. Even worse, there were figures pacing under the light in the command post. Not a good sign. Still, they pushed forward and snuck into West Block's second canteen, ready for a midnight feast. But staring at the cafeteria's pitch-black entrance, no one dared make the first move. No one wanted to be the sacrificial idiot. Then suddenly, one guy couldn't hold back anymore. He bolted toward the door like a madman. That was all it took. His action triggered a full stampede. The rookies knew there wasn't enough meat to go around. First come, first served. The frontrunner burst through the doors, fists in the air, shouting, "Victory is mine." But then he froze, his face twisted in confusion and fear. From the shadows, a massive hand shot out and BM. He was floored with a single punch. The lights snapped on. Standing there was the one-legged chef, flanked by a full squad of veteran soldiers, arms crossed, waiting. In that moment, the recruits realized they'd walked right into a trap. They turned to flee, but it was too late. The chef barked, "Run where? I've seen all your faces. You think you can just leave?" And that was it. Weeks of suppressed frustration boiled over. We get beat down all day, and now we can't even eat a warm meal. What are we? Soldiers or savages? But the chef just scoffed in reply. "Savages? You wish that you're not even qualified. Bunch of damn weaklings." That did it. The recruits roared back in unison. "We're not." Meanwhile, outside the window, several officers were quietly observing the chaos, an event they had come to call Meat Raid Night. Hopefully, one murmured, they'll learn something about resistance, because a soldier who only knows how to follow orders won't last a second against a Daejeon. While the others kept shouting, Han Qingyu's squad quietly began regrouping behind the kitchen. From their movements, it was clear they were about to make a serious play. One veteran smirked and taunted, "Want meat? Then earn it with your fists." A few rookies rushed forward, only to be effortlessly flattened in seconds. But that only ignited the fire. Screw it. Let's take him on together. Watching from the window, the bald instructor sighed. Utterly speechless, these kids have lost their damn minds. The bald instructor frowned. Something was off. Han Qingyu's squad was huddled in the corner, whispering and sneaking around. Han Qingyu muttered under his breath, "So, I gotta make the call again? Fine. Watch this." Without warning, he locked eyes ahead, then bolted forward like a bullet. Everyone jumped, thinking he was making a run for it. But nope, his real target was the main power switch. Snap. All the lights went out, total darkness. Ripping off his mask, his eyes glinted like a predator's. "What are you waiting for? Eat." With that war cry, the rookies went feral, charging the food like a starving wolf pack. The veterans panicked, scrambling to block them and protect what little meat was left. Chaos erupted. Fists flew, pots clanged, and the great meat brawl of the century began in absolute darkness. Fists started flying. In the darkness, it turned into an all-out brawl. One veteran dashed toward the power box, hoping to catch the ringleader red-handed. But the moment he touched it, zap, a surge of electricity turned him into a twitching human lightning rod. He hit the ground steaming, smelling disturbingly like grilled meat. Meanwhile, the real culprit, Han Qingyu, just tossed the busted breaker aside with flair. Mission accomplished. He crouched, waited, eyes locked on the target zone that IT was go time. Bang! The door slammed open and a horde of ravenous rookies stormed in, shouting like war gods. Beef! The veterans formed a defensive wall. This was meat worth fighting for. The final showdown had begun. Outside the mayhem, even the instructors were stunned. Yeah, meat stew night at Camp 9 always gets wild, but this is next level insanity. Inside the chaos, grab a bite if you're lucky, take a punch if you're not. Either way, no one was walking out clean. The veterans cracked their knuckles with a smirk. You really think you can win this? Cute. Bunch of rookies. And with that, the battle for the beef officially kicked off. Rookies versus veterans. No holds barred. Han Qingyu launched himself into the air, double flying kick, clearing a path through the chaos. In one smooth motion, he snatched the biggest chunk of meat from the pot, like capturing the enemy's flag. But the vets weren't backing down. They lunged in to fight tooth and nail, refusing to surrender the goods. Rookies grabbed what they could and bolted, hugging chunks of meat like treasure as they fled. Even the instructors watching from afar looked tense. Think any of them will actually get to eat it? The aroma filled the room. Rich, meaty, glorious. The battlefield now smelled like victory. Han Qingyu couldn't hold back any longer. He tore off a piece and bit in hard, eyes shining. Hot damn, totally worth it. That bite was pure bliss. Han Qingyu felt like his soul had ascended. Around him, rookies were running and chomping at the same time, their faces smeared with greasy joy. The unlucky ones who didn't get any. They settled for licking beef juice off their buddies' fingers. Desperate times. But the good times didn't last. Within minutes, armed cafeteria guards stormed the area. The rookies scrambled, retreating back to their dorms like startled mice. The veterans could only groan in defeat. Can't believe it, we actually lost this year. Rumors started to fly, naturally. Within days, the legend twisted. The rookies were so hungry, they cooked a veteran, even electrocuted one for flavor. When the tale reached the ears of 9th Regiment Commander Li Wangxiang, he exploded with rage. From now on, absolutely no meat for those brats. Ironically, that stew had originally been meant as a reward. But who knew they'd go full riot mode for it? The theories written in those research notes, nobody's been able to prove if any of it's real. One scientist had scribbled a chilling line. The more primitive you are, the closer you are to primal energy. And strangely, the period at the end had been crossed out, replaced with a question mark. That's why, before undergoing energy calibration tests, recruits were strictly forbidden from eating meat. But Han Qingyu, he was still basking in beef-induced bliss, totally unaware of what was coming. Suddenly, WHOSH, a figure in black dropped from the sky like a shadow. Sword in hand, the man pointed it straight at Han Qingyu. Hand it over. The rookies froze, jaws dropping. Wait, what? He's armed. All this for a piece of beef. But Han Qingyu stood his ground, defiant. Nope, not giving it. Then, boom, he turned and sprinted like a man on a mission. He tried to make a beeline back to the dorms with his meaty prize, but the armored veterans chasing him, they were like hunting dogs, fast, fierce, and furious. In just a few seconds, the prized meat was snatched clean out of Han Qingyu's hands. The instructors, fed up, barked orders. Everyone, wash up and hit the bunks now. Once the rookies were gone, the veterans kicked off their own private celebration. White liquor and hot beef. For them, this was the best meal of the year. Just as they were settling into this hard-earned feast, a new recruit suddenly stumbled into the room. The veterans immediately stood up, eyes sharp. You here to steal meat too? The rookie scratched his head and grinned sheepishly. Nah, I overslept. My roommate said there was some late-night meat sale going on. Thought I'd check it out. Looking around at the chaos, he added innocently, Guess I missed the party. The vets assumed he'd turn around and leave quietly. But before anyone could blink, the rookie lunged forward and swiped the last piece of meat off the table. The room froze, then erupted. The veterans exploded into action. instincts sharp as ever. In a flash, the veterans closed in around the rookie. One clean, sweeping kick sent him flying. Bam! And the beef was recovered in one smooth motion. But for a moment, even the veterans were stunned. Who the hell was that kid? That's Speed. Truth is, this so-called meat raid night wasn't just for fun, it was tradition. On this night, veterans had the unspoken right to mess with the rookies, because once upon a time, they were on the receiving end too. Fueled by liquor, they'd swap war stories and remember their fallen brothers. No one judged if a few tears fell during the toasts. With hearts burning and voices loud, they sang the old military songs, raw, powerful, defiant. And under those battle-hardened songs, they slowly drifted off to sleep. But in a shadowed corner of the camp, one man lit a cigarette and sat in silence. The IT was Loud DUI, lost in his thoughts. Just then, a knock came at Loud DUI's door. He opened it and froze that IT was the commander. Loud DUI jumped slightly, nearly dropping his cigarette. Thankfully, the commander just held up 2 bottles of liquor. Relax, let's have a drink. The 2 men sat down, cracking open the bottles, settling into a quiet, late-night chat. Then the commander casually dropped a verbal bomb. Tell me, aside from killing the Daejeon, did you happen to kill anyone else? Loud DUI nearly choked. What? No way. I barely survived that fight. Took the hit head-on, nearly coughed up my liver that I bled for hours. The commander nodded slowly. One of our men died today. I'm just checking. Was anyone else with you that day? Loud DUI's mind flashed back. His stomach dropped. Don't tell me it was that kid? Loud DUI hesitated, then finally said, I did see a new recruit at the scene that day. The commander frowned. A 19-year-old rookie? No way he took down 2 elite fighters equipped with Gen 7 Hellfire suits. But Loud DUI insisted. I didn't believe it either. But that kid's different. He's got a knack for staying hidden, and he saved my life. The next morning, Han Xingyu shot up from bed, jolted awake by a nightmare. After a quick wash, the rookies lined up for their daily training. In the corridor, they ran into their dazzling squad leader, Captain Mila Jo. With her usual commanding presence, she delivered an unexpected announcement. Your performance score didn't drop. In fact, you gained 13 points, thanks to last night's beef raid. Cheers erupted among the rookies. Wait, stealing meat boosts your score. This got to be a hidden quest reward. Just as Han Xingyu turned to celebrate, a voice called out, Han Xingyu, step outside now. Once inside the office, Han Xingyu immediately sensed something was off. Seated before him was a high-ranking officer in full uniform, clearly someone important. It was the commander himself, glaring at Han Xingyu with a sharp, unblinking stare. Beside him stood a stern-faced female inspector who fired the first question. On the evening of August 13, 1990, where exactly were you? Cold sweat poured down Han Xingyu's back. Crap, did that thing really get found out? He stammered, I was lying in a ditch, in ambush. The rest, it's kind of blurry. The inspector's tone turned icy. Blurry, but I bet killing someone. That part's pretty clear, isn't it? Han Xingyu realized there was no way to hide it now. That he sighed. Yeah, that part I remember. The room went dead silent. The officers exchanged glances. Han Xingyu continued. I killed 2 people, snuck up on them, and took them out from behind. Han Xingyu went on, the weapons. I picked them off one of the bodies, a combat knife and a dagger. One target was stabbed in the back of the head, the other through the neck. What Han didn't know was that the commander had already planned this interrogation in advance. Because this wasn't a minor achievement, every detail had to match. No room for false credit. So the plan was to rattle him about a rookie killing elite soldiers? Without training. Sounds fake, right? But Han Xingyu stayed calm. I killed 2 of them, but that 3rd one wasn't me. Everyone was still confused that if he really did all that, why didn't he report it to Loud DUI? Han Xingyu answered without hesitation. Honestly, I think Captain Lao can be a bit temperamental, maybe even ungrateful. Outside the door, Loud DUI, who had been eavesdropping, nearly exploded. This little punk, what did he just say? The commander, on the other hand, raised an eyebrow, impressed. The way Han analyzed the fight, precise and composed. This kid's got potential. With the test over, the commander stepped forward and placed a firm hand on Han Qingyu's shoulder. "You did well," he said with conviction. After Han left, the commander turned to the squad leaders. "Keep a close eye on that one. I want him in peak condition for the primal energy test." Outside, when Ji-Fei was nervously pacing. "Why is he not back yet? Don't tell me he got arrested or something." That's when Baldy, Instructor Zhang, caught sight of him. Well, when Ji-Fei, come with me." Sensing danger, Wen turned to run. But a loud barked command froze him in his tracks. "And O1 disobeys orders here." He was hauled into the office, bracing for scolding. But instead, a fragrant packet of spiced tofu snacks flew at him. Wen's eyes lit up like stars. He hugged the snack like it was treasure. Yet before he could finish savoring the moment, Instructor Zhang's voice thundered through the hall. "All new recruits, to the training ground now." Instructor Zhang stood tall, voice cold as ice. "To ensure no one's breaking the rules, strip search, starting now." When Ji-Fei's eyes bulged. "You've got to be kidding me." The instructor added with a smirk. "Whoever's caught hiding food becomes today's live training target." He stalked over to one and asked, "So, hand it over, or should I dig it out myself?" When spread his arms dramatically. "Search away. Coach, I got nothing to hide." After full inspection, nothing. Not even a crumb. Turns out Wen had cleverly ditched the tofu snack right into Instructor Zhang's own office trash bin. He even had the guts to quip, "Didn't you say it yourself, sir? Don't let others suffer for your carelessness." The instructor's face turned purple. His trap had completely backfired. Fuming, he barked, "Fine, Dorm 11, you're the target today." A chorus of groans erupted. Once again, when Ji-Fei's squad took the fall. Us again? Seriously? And just like that, they were turned into living punching bags for the entire base. 3 straight hours of relentless training. The 5 guys in the dorm were completely wiped out, sprawled on the floor without the strength to even move. Instructor Zhang had no choice but to call in stretchers to carry them to the infirmary. Meanwhile, their squad leader, Captain Mira Joe, was cheerfully slurping noodles as if nothing had happened. She knew the drill. On day 1 of combat training, the test target squad was usually the one instructor secretly favored most. "But why were they so pathetic today?" she muttered. "They were doing fine yesterday. Wait, did they mess up on purpose?" That thought made her panic. What if they don't choose me as squad leader later? She needed a plan. Back in the infirmary, Han Qingyu was chilling on his hospital bed, grinning. "Honestly, faking an injury ain't bad. The food here's way better than the mess hall." Lao DUI came by to check on him, but all Han cared about was one thing. "So, does this count as a paid sick day?" Lao DUI sighed, half laughing. "You greedy brat. Always thinking about money." Not long after Lao DUI left, Captain Mira Joe finally showed up, eyeing Han Qingyu on the bed. Her heart tightened. "In a way, I'm letting my best recruit get poached." A fellow officer whispered a reminder. "If you don't act now, someone else is going to claim him." Myra's cheeks flushed pink. She needed a plan. Fast. That night, she showed up at Dorm 11, holding a tube of ointment. Flashing a sweet smile, she said, "My faucet broke. Mind if I borrow your shower?" The guys, instantly wide-eyed, hearts pounding like war drums. At that moment, they all wished they were the hot water spraying from that shower head. When Mira walked out, hair damp, skin glowing, legs for days, she looked like a goddess stepping out of a dream. Every man in that room was instantly tamed. Whatever Captain Mira said was law. Even in the dead of night, she had them sneaking out for secret training sessions. Let's just say Captain Mira had everyone's attention and respect, and maybe a little crush. Meanwhile, Han Qingyu was still fixated on the big question. Could the strongest warrior in our alliance take down a Daijian, one-on-one? And if I keep absorbing energy, could I get strong enough to do it too? At that moment, Captain Mirajo was mid-lecture. Tactical thinkers tend to lose touch with instinct. To sharpen your combat reflexes, you must train your body to remember first. The others were confused, but Han Qingyu nodded with sudden clarity. Then, without warning, Mira called out, "Wen Jifei, come here." The next second, BM! She decked him with a punch so fast, he went flying. On the battlefield, no one's going to say watch out. If you can't dodge by instinct, you're dead. She tossed him a tube of ointment. Rub it on yourself. Then she hefted a massive custom-built Gatling gun and turned to Han Qingyu. Next drill, you assist me. Han casually tossed an empty soda can into the air. Rat-a-tat-ta-ta. Mira opened fire, blasting the can so high it vanished into the clouds. Every rookie stared in disbelief. There's no way she's human, right? Han Qingyu wasn't just impressed. He saw through the trick. That wasn't just about hitting the can. She angled the shot to graze the sloped edge of the bottom. Only that trajectory could launch it like that. A direct hit would have just sent it tumbling, not soaring. Curious, he asked Mira, that custom gun of yours can it actually take down a Jian? Mira blushed slightly. The gun itself? Useless. But I'm the only soldier in the 9th Legion authorized to use heat-based weapons in actual combat. Sure, it doesn't do real damage, but it slows Daijin down. And the second it hesitates, my squad moves in for the kill. It's just like the first rule in the combat manual, no jumping attacks. These are things you'll need to memorize sooner or later. But today's takeaway is simple, learn to find your angle. During the next hand-to-hand combat match, Mira Zhou beamed at Han Qingyu and said, "Han Qingyu, would you win this round for me?" She fully expected him to say yes, but the moment he found out there was no prize, no money, he flat out refused. Then what's the point? Mira Zhou was stunned. Was he seriously turning her down? Back at the dorm, the other rookies were buzzing with gossip. Who do you think Myra's got a crush on? And why is she trying so hard to be a squad captain anyway? That's when drill instructor Zhang suddenly chimed in. Probably because of her brother. He was a captain in the Foreign Legion, died in battle. She's just trying to walk the path he couldn't finish. The recruits froze. Someone had been eavesdropping this whole time. The next morning, Han Qingyu was summoned again to recount the details of the kill. Just as he was about to press his fingerprint, the squad leader asked him a serious question. Do you think Captain Mira is suited to lead your unit? Han Qingyu hesitated, then replied firmly, she's a good person, but no, she's not fit for it. He knew it wasn't a pleasant thing to say, but it was the truth for the team's safety and hers. After leaving the office, Han Qingyu headed straight to the training ground. With only 15 days left before the big match, he swore to himself. This time, he'd make them all take notice. 15 days flew by. The competition had officially begun. The rules were clear. Recruits would attack using dull training weapons, while veterans could only dodge. No counterattacks allowed. The crowd was loud and buzzing with excitement. While watching his teammates compete, Han Qingyu came to a realization. The closer the attack, the less the veteran had to move, the easier they were handling it. Take Hitong Tang, for example. Every time he swung, the veteran dodged with a wide gap, which actually meant his strikes were dangerously close, too risky to take head-on. Still, once the timer ran out, the challenge was marked as a failure. When it was Wen Jifei's turn, he boldly declared, "Watch closely, boys. I'll be the first one to beat a veteran." He swaggered onto the field, but after locking eyes with his opponent for a while, he still didn't make a move. Turns out, he had figured out a loophole. If he just stayed on the stage until time ran out without getting knocked off, it'd be a draw. So he decided to stall. But the veteran wasn't having any of it. He charged forward with a vicious glare. When Jifei tried to counterattack mid-charge, but the veteran dodged effortlessly. In the end, Wen still lost and left the stage with a bitter look. He apologized to Captain Mira, clearly embarrassed. But Mira just smiled and reassured him, "No worries, you did great." Soon, it was Han Qingyu's turn to take the stage. The veterans had heard plenty about this rookie. Now they'd get to see if he lived up to the hype. Han Qingyu stepped onto the stage, weapon in hand. He moved slowly, inch by inch, testing his opponent like a predator eyeing its prey. Then, bam! He struck out without warning, faster than the eye could follow. Even the veteran was caught off guard. He's insanely fast. He barely twisted away in time that, if not for his years of experience, he would have been down right there. Captain Myra's eyes lit up. There's still hope. His angle is perfect. Han clenched his teeth and threw everything he had into a powerful strike. Instinctively, the veteran knocked the weapon right out of his hands. The rookies erupted in cheers. Yes, that's a foul. But Han wasn't done. The veteran hesitated for just a second. He lunged forward and snatched his weapon back. Without missing a beat, he launched another ferocious attack. The veteran froze, stunned. What are you doing? Still coming at me. You think you've earned the right to cut me down? But before he could even finish, Han Qingyu struck again. One clean slash straight to the mark. The referee's whistle pierced the air. Torso strike. Class 11. Han Qingyu wins.
Guys, that's the end of the video. If you like this video, please leave a comment in the comment section. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Like the video and share it too. Thank you for watching and see you next time again.